What if I told you that there is an artist right now that's mixing pop, country, metal, and even some electronic elements? Their name is called Bilmuri. If you haven't heard of them before, definitely go check them out even before you watch this video. But I've been listening to them for years, and they had a new album come out earlier this year. I just went and saw them on tour. So needless to say, I've been pretty inspired by them. So in the video today, I want to show you how to use some of those key elements that you might hear in a Bilmuri track and turn them into something of your own. So we're going to look at doing the low-tuned guitars, the super country guitars, how to program drums in that kind of rock and metal style. We're going to dive in and check all of that out in 1 second. But before we do, we are going to host another giveaway. So if you want to be entered to win any of the Make Pop Music sample packs, preset packs, or MIDI packs, all you have to do is leave a comment down below, and we'll be picking a winner on Monday, September 30th at random. So if you want to win anything, just leave a comment, engage with the video. It helps us out a ton. Other than that, head over to our website, makepopmusic.com. You can check out all of our free and paid content over there, including a bunch of the guitar tones that we're going to make in this video. You'll be able to download for free in our free download section. Let's go ahead and let's dive in so we can start cranking this out, because there's going to be a lot to cover. The first thing that I want to start with is a guitar riff. I feel like especially most of the new album is so riff-based. We're going to come up with something and then just see what we can get. Let's try that again. Yeah, we'll do something like that. We'll tighten it up and we'll double track it. Here's our first guitar. I tracked it in drop D on a single coil Strat just on the bridge pickup. So for the tone, we've already kind of covered the Bilmuri tone on a video before. Go check out our how to create pop and pop rock guitar tones. But we're going to be using the Gojira plugin. This is from Neural DSP. This pedal right here, this is a key. It's called the Fatso pedal. If we turn this off, we still have a really nice tone. We've got a kind of high gain tone, almost like a Cali tread plate kind of vibe. Basically just, you know, any kind of super, super high gain, kind of mid scooped amp. And then here's all my settings. In terms of pedals, I'm just using a little bit of overdrive. And then in terms of EQ, I'm just doing a couple little bumps here and there. This right here though, this Fatso pedal all the way back, that's the key. It's essentially an octave pedal. And then once I layer that with the other side, we get something like this. And the key to this is to only play one note at a time. Think of this almost like a bass. You don't want to play big power chords, big bar chords, nothing like that. You want it to stay super, super clean. So that feels really good. Let's kind of like layer in a more country, almost like Western lead underneath it. So here's what we have for our lead. I'll show you the tone real quick. It's also on the Gojira amp. However, we're not using that pitch shifting on this, and we're just using their lower gain amp on the bright setting. It's not a super, super wild preset. We're just scooping out a lot of lows and pushing some of those mids. And then we have some reverb and no delay, just a little bit of reverb. The DI sounds like this. Super bright, super jangly. Bilmuri's really known for those like jangly single coil tones. Mixing that with the lead. Let's go ahead and layer these lows with kind of some suspended, just jangly, crunchy tones. One of the keys with Bilmuri is kind of building a wall of sound with simplistic elements. So we have that really low tune guitar that's kind of filling out a lot of that low end. What we want though is we want something that is not going to be shifted down an octave. These are just played as kind of like power chords with some extensions. Still in drop D, but we're not doing any of those like really, you know, crazy pedal shifts. For this, we're just using it still on that clean amp. We are using a little bit of overdrive here. And otherwise, it's pretty much just like that jangly Western tone, just with a little bit more drive. Layer that with that Western lead and that low, like Murray tone. The next thing to do is just slightly fill out this guitar arrangement with some ambient elements that'll be tucked right in kind of the back of the mix. I'm gonna add those now and then we'll move on to drums and bass. The first little ambient thing that we have was actually me playing a harmonic on the guitar and then essentially just sending it through effects modulator to kind of add a ramp and a gate. Sounds like this. And then essentially all I did was added an extra filter freak, kind of adding some distortion. And then we have an EQ on here that I'm just going to start to kind of automate up. So let's go to band 2 frequency. Start to do this. That's probably better. We can actually leave it up for the chorus. Maybe in the verse, I'll kind of automate that in. But for now, we can leave it up here. And then for this ambient guitar, it's essentially just a clean guitar. Playing diamonds, not really doing anything too wild. But then we added that Corey Wong amp, which we haven't used yet in this tutorial, but we use a ton on the channel. We're on the 3rd amp on the bright setting. We are using quite a bit of compression and some tube drive. And then the key to this is using the reverb with that shimmer button engaged, which essentially adds a reverb but an octave higher. Without the chorus and the reverb and delay, with it. Getting rid of all of the low end, not doing anything to the cab. And then, yeah, just this setting on the head, this setting on the 2 pedals. And that's pretty much it. That's all we're going to do now for the guitars. I do want to go ahead and layer in some bass. So first, I'm just going to kind of do what would be like a bass line on like a grindy kind of gent bass. Here's the bass that we're using. It's called Gen Bass. I believe this is by, who is this by? Submission Audio. Same people that make punk bass that we've used on the channel. And I'm just using it on the grit setting. Sounds like this. We added this little note down here because it essentially turns it into like a dead note or like a muted note. And then I'm just taking away all the low end and I'm going to mix that with a sub. So we're just doing that with a little bit of Pro Q just to shape it. And then I'm essentially going to layer this with a sub and kind of a saw layer. This is going to handle all of our low end. It's just kind of an extended 808 that I've made before. We're getting rid of some of that with some, just a little bit of band passing just to tighten it up. And that's how I like to get really nice, consistent big bass. And then the next thing that we're doing is this little saw noise. This is from kind of a stock Serum preset that I've just made some modifications to. It's essentially the Apple Grinder preset, and I just turned the sync way down. And then layering all of those. Now, let's add some drums, and that'll kind of fill out the chorus arrangement. For the kit, we're just using the Gojira kit by Mixwave. Super nice, punchy, fat rock kit. I'm not doing much mixing on this. A little bit of EQ, but it's not even worth showing. Let's go ahead and talk about how to actually program a good drum part. Here's what we have for our drum part. You can see kicks right here in red, snares are in yellow and orange, and then we have some toms and some cymbals. What's really important to Bilmuri is kind of locking in the groove with whatever the bass and the guitar are doing, and then just filling that in with cool little fills, cool little, cymbal splashes, things that can really make it feel a little bit more lifelike. So adding those extra little snare hits, adding the, double cymbals, adding things to kind of, can go everywhere. We have a little fill at the end. Nice little triplet fill. Having some of those things that add a little bit of sauce really helps it feel a little bit more organic while still having that like super produced sound. That's going to be okay for the chorus right now. Let's move this back a little bit and let's start, maybe working with like a verse or something. For the verse, I think I'm going to just start with a guitar. I kind of want to do a more simple kind of palm muted vibe. and then we'll go from there. So let's go over the verse. I just did a little verse guitar arrangement. We still have that little harmonic movement. And then the main thing is going to be this little pluck right here that I've double tracked left and right. For the tone on that, we're just using the same tone on both sides. It's essentially so similar to the kind of Corey Wong tone that we had earlier. We're just letting a little bit more of that low end come in. It's basically a modification of the Sneakers preset that we've given out before. So a little bit of compressor, a little bit of tube screamer. There's your amp settings. Not anything too wild. And then we just have a big kind of dotted delay and kind of a lot of a really short room reverb. Mixing that. And then to make it super Murray, we have some of these little riffs. For these riffs, I wanted to go super country, so I'm using the Tone King Imperial amp. A little bit of compressor, a little bit of overdrive. There's kind of your combo head setting. I'm going to have all of these presets for free, so if you want to download them, if you have these neural plugins, you can do that. It'll just be on our website. But here's all the settings if you want to copy them or if you want to try to mimic them in another amp. And essentially, we just have one happening on the left and one happening on the right, kind of doing a call and response. And I believe for those, I was playing on the middle pickup position. Next thing is just add in some of that ambient guitar just to kind of give listeners a splash of like some texture. It's not doing anything super wild. It's just another version of that kind of Corey Wong, super chorus, super delay, super shimmery reverb. Not doing anything extra wild, but it does add a nice little bit of texture. Then I add in a couple extra guitars. I add in these little diamond pads right here. Same settings, except it's just a little bit crunchier. I've actually popped it on the overdrive again, dial that tone and that drive up just a hair, kind of pushing the amp a little bit harder so we get that kind of break-up tone. And then we're kind of just introducing the Western leads that we have in the chorus. Super jangly. All the guitars together kind of do this nice big conversation. The only guitars I haven't shown you yet are, we have a 12-string down here. I've been loving 12-string lately. I'm playing it on everything. It's just doing the same thing as those palm mutes. Then the only other thing that we add are these, we almost did like a mandolin vibe with a 12-string. So it's just doing... just kind of giving us a little bit of that country western vibe. Again, if you're gonna do Bilmuri, it's nice to have some country elements. I'm probably doing even a little bit less than their new album has, but some of their older albums rely much more on like pop and electronic and kind of alternative music. But I wanted to have something, so let's add in like an 808 for the low end, and then we'll add in some drums. I was kind of using Better Hell and 2016 Cavs as like the reference, so we have like the acoustic guitar and the pluck from 2016 Cavs. We have this kind of 808 that's essentially just a shortened version of what we're doing for the sub bass and the chorus. This is in the verse. So if you're seeing a pattern, it's mainly just have a really nice, catchy kind of staple guitar riff, sprinkle in some of these extra little, ear candy riffs here and there, add your sauce, add your texture, and then just start kind of filling it out with production. The last thing that I kind of want to add for the verse is just a little bit of drums and percussion. I'm not going to do anything too crazy, and then I want to add some risers and hits and ear candy. So for the risers and ear candy, I essentially just have like some sweeps and impacts, not doing anything too wild. These are all just from our Sweet Tooth pack on our website. Then we have this tonal snare. And then once we pull in the drums, I just have this crush kick and metal snare. These are from our Dark Pop Volume 2 packs. And then just a little hat loop that we have out of Sweet Tooth. Add the little guitars under it. You get this really beautiful arrangement. Then to go into that chorus that we made, we're doing a big swell up and then we're doing a pretty massive mute on everything. So let me show you. We have a mute right here. We're going to draw this in. Let's go to quarter notes, turn on our snap. And what we're essentially going to do is kill the volume for everything. And it's going to swell up. And then it's just going to come in with these big kind of palm mute chucks. We got a nice little, sweep in there, some crash impacts in there. Now I kind of want to move on to like a post-chorus. I feel like all of this is good. I want some kind of post-chorus where we can maybe have like a saxophone solo. Okay, I have the post-chorus now all ready to go. Essentially, we're just changing the chord progression. So instead of going down the scale, we're just going to stay on this kind of like low D and kind of go up the scale. So it sounds a little bit like this. Almost like a breakdown. Just also doing that with the guitars, and then the drums are going to mimic that. Sounds a little bit like this. Only thing I want to do now is add a saxophone underneath. I actually just found some different saxophone loops and chopped them up. Realistically, if I were doing this and this were kind of like a real song that I was going to be releasing, I would hire a saxophone player. I think saxophone just really benefits from being played live. However, for this tutorial, I just wanted something really, really simple that I could kind of, mimic the Murray kind of ideas with. Here's what the sax sounds like straight up. But we're adding quite a bit of processing. We're adding some, compression. We're adding a little bit of double lock for more compression and a little bit of saturation. We're adding decapitator for a little bit more saturation. We're adding some Pro Q just to boost that top end. And then we're just adding some echo and some reverb. Pop that in with everything. We also have these mandolins in here. I kind of want to remove those just to see. Added a little bass drop in there. But let's move on to verse 2. I kind of want to keep a lot of the same elements, just rearrange things, and then we'll go from there. It's not going to be a lot of new stuff. It's just going to be piecing together elements that we already have. Moving into verse 2, what I essentially wanted to do was just change the arrangement rather than have the same thing as verse 1. Verse 1 is super ambient, super electronic. What we're doing is actually using a lot of the guitars that we already had, filtering them out, and then just kind of piecing it back together. And we're actually simplifying it. We don't even have all of those extra little like Western riffs. What we do have though is a busy drum arrangement and a busy bass arrangement. So we're adding a bit of groove and pocket with this. So all sweeps out. Let's look at these drums because I actually love this drum arrangement right here. Just to lead it in, we have actually a little fill on some cymbals. When I went and saw them live, their drummer Xavier was so good that I just instantly had a bunch of inspiration for like little chops and licks and almost like little gospel elements. So we have like a little, little cymbal fill right there. We have some ghost notes here. If you don't know what ghost notes are, they're essentially just really, really lightly played notes on a drum, and you can kind of mimic that by just having the velocity almost as low as possible. The Gojira kit does a really good job with those. Got a nice little kind of round robin triplet fill. Nice little simple fill to round it out. And basically the bass is just mimicking whatever that kick drum is doing. So not really anything too crazy. Guitar, same thing as we had in verse 1. We just have that little harmonic melody. We have those plucks, and then we have the 12 string, but we don't have any of the other kind of Western slidey guitars. Now, going into the second pre-chorus, what I wanted to do was filter it out. So in the other one, we actually pull in drums for the pre-chorus. For this one, we're going to a long 808. We're pulling out all of the drums. And then for the guitars, we literally pull everything out. It's super ambient. We're just leaving the acoustic guitars in there, and we're just filtering those out with a little bit of Pro Q. I can show you. It's something we've shown on the channel a million times, but essentially just a filter. Starts to open back. Builds up a lot of tension and then drops out for those little palm hits. Those are a nice little homage to Straight Through You, the Bilmuri song with Arizona. That actually is my favorite single moment on the entire record, is when they drop everything on the one of that chorus. So if you haven't heard that song, go listen to that one. It is crazy. Also, I just want to say, if you've gotten this far in the video, I've never worked with Bilmuri. However, Will Carlson is kind of the main producer behind that. He's very public about sharing information about the projects, showing you guitar tones. He shows them all the time on his Instagram, so go make sure that you follow him. And he did a Nail the Mix a couple months ago where he actually broke down Better Held by Bilmuri. So if you want to see how to break down an actual Bilmuri song, go check out all of Will's content. Bilmuri is also very good about like posting stuff on their social media. So go check all of that out. This is just my kind of interpretation of it, but I have no, real affiliation with the band. I've met them. They're all super nice. I hope to work with them eventually in the future. But for this is just my interpretation. You can still go see like the real version of a Bilmuri song. With that said, the only other thing that we need to cover is in this second version of like a post-chorus breakdown, I swapped the sax for a banjo. I don't know why, it just felt appropriate. So I just have a little banjo solo right here. And again, we're saucing that up with some multi-band envelope shaper just to kind of get rid of some of that like twang that is, sits in a mix weird. We're adding knock, which is a crazy thing to add, but I just wanted to kind of clip this and make it a little bit more distorted. And then we have some Pro Q, tightening this up. We have a little bit of reverb and delay. And that kind of helps it sit in the mix. Let's move on to vocals, and then I'll kind of show you how all of this comes together. So for the vocal on this, essentially for the verse, I wanted to keep it pretty simple. It's just one vocal right down the middle. It just sounds like this coming straight out of my mic. This is just the Loudon Audio Eden into a Rupert Neve Newton channel strip into an 1176, into an Opto compressor, and then into my interface. Now it's time that I face the facts. I know that you ain't coming back around. All I wanted to do is pop a little bit of compression and EQ on there. It's not really doing anything too wild. Just, boosting some mids, getting rid of some of those low mids, and then just doing a little bit of extra compression and, de-essing just to kind of tighten it up. Here's what the dry vocal is. Now it's time that I face the facts. I know that you ain't coming back around. Then we're going to add a couple sends. We essentially just have a little bit of, reverb and delay. The vocals in this Bilmuri project are a little bit dry in the verses, so here's what it sounds like without that big delay throw. Now it's time that I face the facts. I know that you ain't coming back around. Then we just have a big quarter note delay throw here. It's essentially just the normal vocal chain with an echo buoy on it at 100% wet, some harmonizer to give that a little bit of like chorus and, phase. A little bit of vintage verb just to kind of tuck that in there. And then some EQ just to kind of tighten that up for the mix. Put it all in.
Now it's time that I face the facts. I know that you ain't coming back around. I get sentimental when sipping Jack, reminisce about how we got unwound.
So it's one vocal, and then once we get to this pre-chorus, we're kind of building it up a little bit. We're keeping one vocal in the middle, so we have this.
I went left, you went right, and we were pulling attention.
And I'm just layering that with this kind of spacey falsetto. And this actually has a reverb just straight on the track. I can shorten this a little bit, but yeah, just doing a little bit of extra reverb and a little bit of kind of vocal widening, vocal doubling. This is what it sounds like.
Attention, I'm solo and you're high. Now we're in different dimensions. I'm just trying.
Layer that with kind of, you know, the signature low vocal that I do all the time on this channel. Essentially, we're just pitching it down a whole octave in auto-tune, and then we're slapping on a doubler on this 4 voices setting and letting that thing rip.
We were pulling attention, I'm solo and you're high. Now
harmonies, just kind of tucking them in on punch ends.
I went left, you went right, and we were pulling attention. I'm solo and you're high. Now we're in different dimensions. I'm just trying to get by. I know it's not your intention, but I'm...
So that's pretty much all it's doing for the verse and the pre-chorus. Going into the chorus, we actually have a pretty big vocal arrangement. I noticed on the Bilmuri project, there's quite a lot happening vocally, but the lead is so much more present than all of the layers. But if there weren't any layers, there's no way that it would sit in with all of those guitar parts and that distortion and compression and saturation. Like, these are pretty gnarly arrangements. So you kind of have to layer the vocals. So we essentially have the lead and then a dub left and right version of that.
Swear I gave you my best. It was never enough. I'd rip my heart out my chest. If you're calling my bluff, then put up.
And then essentially we're doing like kind of an A-B vocal. So on the first little vocal, we're layering the lows.
Swear I gave you my best. Heart out my chest.
And we're adding some harmonies to that.
Swear I gave you my best. Heart on my chest, gun on my head.
And then we have this little second vocal right here. One thing that I wanted to do to kind of make it stand out even more is add a layer that just has a bunch of distortion on it. So we have this decapitator layer kind of tucked under. Sounds crazy.
It was never enough, I'd rip my... If you're calling my bluff, then put up. Pull the trigger and...
Got that low vocal in there again. We got what I'm calling the Alvin vocal. It's basically the same thing, just pitched up an octave instead of down an octave. And then we have all of these harmony tracks. So we have this harmony kind of going throughout the whole thing.
Gave you my best, it was never enough. I ripped my heart on my chest. If you call out my bluff, then put a gun on my head, pull the trigger.
So we kind of have this like back and forth with a bunch of vocals. So you can see here that we have leads and dubs and a steady harmony throughout the whole thing. But on one part, we have those extra live tracked harmonies. And then on the second part, we have those kind of artificial harmonies doing more of an affected sound.
Where I gave you my best, it was never enough. I'd rip my heart on my chest. If you're calling my bluff, then put a gun on my head, pull the trigger and run. You can leave me for dead if it shows you I care. So baby, go on ahead. If you promise we're done, cause it'll hurt so much less. Let me get...
So kind of gave us a nice little call and response chorus. Into the post chorus, the only thing I wanted to do is add some screams, kind of an homage to, you know, the foundation of Bilmuri, which is Johnny Frank being in like Attack Attack, and me kind of coming from that post-hardcore, Midwest emo, you know, metalcore vibe. So we have a triple tracked scream.
Oh.
Essentially, it's just like a normal vocal chain, and I added some distortion because my screams are super, super weak. So scream up the middle, scream over the left, scream in the right.
Oh.
And then I wanted to add one little ambient scream in the background. So I have this little guy right here. We have some reverb happening. We have some delay happening. And I'm actually doing a little bit of like reading and writing automation on this.
I haven't felt it so long!
Doing a big kind of tail on the end, filtering it out, kind of having that radio vocal effect. And that's pretty much it for the vocal. Second verse kind of follows the same exact structure. The only thing is we introduce that low vocal once everything comes in, like all the drums. And then everything else is kind of identical. Like there's not really I didn't do anything crazy vocally on this. It's just layering it so it can kind of sit in with that main instrumental. So let's play this from start to finish. I did just add a little intro right here that's essentially just the guitar parts that we already had filtered up. And yeah, let's play it. Let's see what we got.
Now it's time that I face the facts. I know that you ain't coming back around. I get sentimental when sipping Jack, reminisce about how we got unwound. I went left, you went right, and we were pulling attention. I'm so low and you're high, now we're in different dimensions. I'm just trying to get by. I know it's not your intention, but I'm watching you move on. It's making me sick. Swear I gave you my best, it was never enough. I'd rip my heart out my chest. If you're calling my bluff, then put a gun on my head, pull the trigger and run. You can need me for dead if it shows you I care. So baby, go on ahead if you promise we're done, cause it'll hurt so much less than me giving you up. I know I'm way too obsessed, look at what we've become. You can leave me for dead, cause it's better than knowing you're gone. Impression's still in my bag, goddamn I can't take it. Every time I look around the living room's vacant. Drinking just to pass the time and now I'm too wasted, drowning in pain. Cause I went left, you went right, and we were pulling attention. I'm so low and you're high, now we're in different dimensions. I'm just trying to get by. I know it's not your intention, but I'm watching you move on. It's making me sick. Swear I gave you my best, it was never enough. I'd rip my heart out my chest. If you're calling my bluff, then put a gun on my head, pull the trigger and run. You can need me for dead if it shows you I care. So baby, go on ahead if you promise we're done, cause it'll hurt so much less than me giving you up. I know I'm way too obsessed, look at what we've become. You can leave me for dead, cause it's better than knowing you're gone.
And there you have it. Again, if you want to see Will actually break down stuff from the real Bilmuri sessions, go check out Will Carlson. I'll leave his information in the description below. If you want to get any of these guitar tones for free, just head to our website. We have a whole free download section that you can check out. And then if you want to be entered to win any of our sample packs, maybe some that you heard here, like Dark Pop Volume 2 or Sweet Tooth, or our Serum packs, if you want to win any of those, just comment down below. I'm going to be picking one winner on September 30th at random. And then other than that, let us know what videos you want to see in the near future down below in the comments. We're always taking your requests. But I'm super happy I got to do this. I know that this is basically as far away from pop as we can get on this channel. However, with me coming from this scene, it was such a fun one to break down. And big shout out to Bilmuri and everybody who works on the project, everybody who played on the tour. It's incredible. So go check them out, show them some love, but I'll see you guys next week with more content. Much love. Peace.